In the middle of one of the most economically and biologically diverse nations on Earth, a quiet revolution is underway. This is the Philippines, home to nearly 100 million people and rapidly becoming an industrial powerhouse in Asia. It's the world's 12th most populous nation, with a rich cultural and ethnic past. But like the rest of the world, it's reliant on limited resources and increasingly affected by a global shift in climate patterns. A frightening 85.2% of the Philippines' economy is prone to natural disasters, and they believe that unless action on climate change is taken soon, those areas facing the greatest risk could stall the country's development. Like so many industrialized nations, the challenge facing the Philippines is how to prosper without pain, how to grow without harming the land and the sea, how to meet the demands of its people without endangering the very environment on which they depend. One of the biggest challenges facing this country today is achieving growth while meeting its environmental responsibilities. The Philippines recently won a ratings upgrade, underlining the success of President Benigno Aquino's growth strategy, which is rapidly outpacing the rest of Asia.
This drastic transformation is anchored on a simple idea, the same idea that our people voted for in the 2010 national elections. If we eliminate corruption, we can end poverty.
So overall, we have this picture of macroeconomic stability that has never been the case in the history of the Philippines. So this is generating a lot of confidence in the economy. So this opportunity allows a government to put in place reforms so that it will not do a U-turn anymore, which has been the case in the past.
The Philippines is a kaleidoscope of beauty, which has seen this tropical archipelago of more than 7,000 islands graced with mountainous rainforests and spectacular marine life.
When you have low productivity, you promote more poverty. So that becomes a cycle, and we are trying very hard to break loose from that cycle.
To date, some 8 million hectares of forest land are either unproductive, denuded, or degraded. In an effort to walk the talk, in 2011, President Aquino announced a national greening program, which is by far the widest and most sustained reforestation venture ever embarked on a national scale. It combines the resources and manpower of almost all national line agencies.
You know, this is quite a unique program. It's not just an environmental program. Basically, it is a poverty reduction program and a food security program.
One of the companies involved is PMDC, the Philippine Mining Development Corporation.
PMDC is generally the mining arm of the state. We created that as a form of government corporation which can somehow do the portion of mining wherein the private sector would not tackle.
As a catalyst for developing mining projects, one of the objectives is to contribute to the national greening program through partnerships with different agencies and local communities. Programs and projects in line with the corporate social responsibility of the PMDC are being implemented in collaboration with local government agencies and indigenous communities, such as the Diwalwal Mineral Reservation Area. One of which is the reforestation project that aims to uphold the rehabilitation of biodiversity and, as a result, provide an additional source of livelihood for people in the host mining communities. The transition from a mainly agrarian to an industrialized economy has not been easy. To operate this country and keep the wheels of commerce turning requires power, and like the rest of the world, energy comes at a cost.
The energy needs of the Philippines, moving forward, if you're thinking about a country that's growing upwards of 7% per year, on the average in the next 5 years, we're probably going to be growing upwards of 5% in Luzon and Visayas, and this is energy, electricity needs, and then about 4% in Mindanao.
Traditionally, the Philippines has depended on fossil-based power to supply its energy needs. The Philippines' energy portfolio is unique in the region in that domestically it has few of its own fossil fuel resources and no subsidies when compared regionally.
The issue of energy security is something that's very important for the country, not just for security, but also for economic reasons.
But while coal-fired electricity is cheap and plentiful, the world is moving towards clean energy to generate its future power requirements. The pressure is on if the Philippines is to avoid the substantial economic and humanitarian costs threatened by major upheavals in extreme climate events.
The Philippines is considered one of the most vulnerable countries in the world when it comes to climate impact. And we face a lot of external weather events on a yearly basis, and one event is enough to nudge poor communities in the country to even more severe poverty. This is the problem that we face.
This is typical of the quiet revolution that's taking place in the quest to harmonize environmental demands with energy needs. Here at Batangas, south of Manila, natural gas plants sit comfortably alongside a sensitive marine environment, which is also home to mangrove swamps and a rich bird life. The Verde Island Passage has been dubbed the center of global marine diversity. It's why these two power plants in the Verde Island Passage are able to operate side by side. This is an area of outstanding marine biodiversity, and it's crucial that both the energy and fishing industries live in harmony.
We'd like to work with the communities and support the communities to be able to protect those areas.
In the Philippines, particularly in Batangas, we have we call marginalized fisher folks. And their only means of livelihood is fishing.
CI has been working in the Verde Island Passage, which includes Batangas, since 2005.
The volunteer group receives support from various partners to police this fragile marine area from illegal fishing.
Many illegal activities ongoing in the coastal areas, and the assistance of PERSGAS is very big help to us, particularly on training the local volunteers and law enforcement, and in providing some equipment for them to be used in patrolling the coastal waters.
Most of the fishermen, they told us if there are illegal fishers activity that happened on that area. So they report to us immediately, and we as Bantay Dagat, we immediately go to the area in order to apprehend those illegal fishers.
I'm president of Marine Protected Area here in our barangay, Batalam Bato Marine Sanctuary. Napakahalaga ho dahil napoprotektahan ho namin at na mababantayan yung mga illegal fishing sa karagatan ng Tingloy. Mababantayan po namin ang palibot ng aming isla.
Traditionally, fishermen have always been seen as the custodians of the sea. Essentially, they remain the guardians of marine life and ensure that fishing levels continue to rise.
Ang gawain po ng araw-araw ng pangingisda ay nandyan sa dagat para magkaroon kami ng makakain. Dita, parang yun ang ikinabubuhay namin dito. Ang araw-araw na pangingisda.
With proper conservation support in place, the fishing community can be self-sustaining, as increased fish catches and the size of fish have testified.
During my time in fishing, sometimes I owe money to my friends, but now through the support of First Gen, it helps a lot.
When we started, we saw them succeeding, except there was a lack of resources on their part, and we said that, you know, if we just give it a nudge, another nudge, and give them the support that they need, they can be even more successful.
The goal would be to raise awareness enough so that the people in the local communities would be able to, on their own, conserve and protect the marine resources.
About 70% of the marine biodiversity of the whole world can be found in this triangle. And it can be considered, we usually refer to it as the virgin forest under the sea. And we must protect it, not just for the Philippines, but for the benefit of the global community.
Meeting the country's insatiable demand for energy while reducing its dependence on carbon-causing fossil-powered electricity will not be easy, but it is beginning to happen, and it's manifesting itself in a number of different ways. Business and government leaders are already addressing the problem with a climate reform agenda.
Back in 2010, we committed to be a coordinating entity for the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. We have partnership with World Bank. We have a facility called Carbon Finance Credit Facility. By the Carbon Credit Facility, we were able to come out with 2 POAs, or Program of Activities.
It provides support to pig farms and landfill facilities and assists them through its Clean Development Mechanism, or CDM processes. Land Bank's program of activity for methane recovery is the first of its kind in the Philippines and Southeast Asia, and was recently registered by the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. It leads the country in reducing the impact of animal waste on the environment and allows pig farmers to earn carbon credits by cutting methane emissions. Whether it's pig farmers in Bohol or fishermen in the Verde Island Passage, they are all environmentally conscious and recognize the need for climate change adaptation and mitigation. The potential for further advance is enormous. While coal-fired electricity is cheap and plentiful, the world is moving towards clean energy, such as geothermal, to generate its future power requirements. Much is at stake here, particularly in the Philippines, where a green growth strategy is seen as a key plank in the country's response to global climate change through a carbon-neutral target. Leyte is one of the islands in the Philippines where geothermal power plants were developed by Energy Development Corporation, the country's leading supplier of this kind of energy. With over 3 decades of experience, EDC is now well positioned to follow the path to a low-carbon and sustainable future.
It is always a challenge, Roger, to balance development with environmental protection, and that is the major objective of sustainable development, and especially in the energy sector. That is the reason why in the Philippines we're trying very hard to go for green sources of power.
Here in the rural areas of Leyte, it's not just electricity that's being generated by this geothermal site. Livelihood projects involving farmers, women, out-of-school youths, as well as reforestation, are being financed from investments in this geothermal area.
In terms of the benefits of the poor people, particularly those in rural areas, the benefits of developing our renewable energy resources are anchored on them. Primarily because much of our renewable resources are not located in urban areas.
This region has enjoyed a dramatic change in its fortunes in the past 20 years. These days, the entire community, including schools and local businesses, enjoy a share of the energy dollar. Part of that support goes to preparing kids for future career opportunities at home and abroad.
The program of the KITEC, every Monday morning, our students will be pitched here in our municipality, then bring to the school in Barangay Rizal and Iloctogan. And then Friday, back to the municipality.
This is our bottom board.
The geothermal site at Leyte is a prime example of how energy production can open opportunities for the local community to better their lives. The Kananga EDC Institute of Technology, or KITEC, a multi-partner educational project spearheaded by EDC, was established to equip high school graduates with the skills that are locally and globally in demand and make them employable in a short time.
Since I came in the school, I learned a lot, and then I developed more on my personality, my ability, and then also my skill. I developed my skill as a welder.
In the future, I will have a better career because KITEC will really help me. They are the one who will find a job for me.
I want to build and to make my own plan, to make my own dream house.
If it happens that your hypotenuse is not equal to 5 meters,
we are changing lives because we are providing them with skills for their employment, and once they get employed, they are able to provide for their family adequately.
Our treasurer in KITEC will give 100 pesos for their allowance. They go to the market, they buy rice, fish, then they walk so that they can bring food to their parents.
There's a fulfilling effect for me, no? Because when I see the changes within the community, and I feel that I am part of that change.
In 4 years, KITEC has become the new benchmark for other technical vocational centres in the country, with all of its graduates having maintained a consistent 100% pass rate in national certification assessments. They also enjoy a consistently high employment rate of 88% as of June 2013. Now, 5 years later, KITEC has grown even stronger, with new employment partnerships with a range of companies, including some in the hospitality industry, set to be replicated in other EDC operations. Working alongside big corporations is land bank. Cooperatives play a significant part in a country's development, and their contribution is well recognized. They help the poor and the disadvantaged to build better lives for themselves.
Before the creation of the cooperative, probably this community is one of the poorest barangays that we have in the whole of Batangas City. This cooperative was organized in 1969, and it's probably because of the crisis that the people from this community is experiencing during that time.
Co-founded by 59 members who voluntarily contributed 200 pesos each, is now one of the top agri-based cooperatives in the Philippines, taking progress further with their feed mill and outlet businesses, savings and local facilities, and grocery store in various locations.
What we do is to lend to the conduits, the rural banks and the cooperatives, so that they in turn can lend to their individual farmers. Around 1 million small farmers and fisher folk benefit from our loan releases to the cooperatives and to the rural banks.
By raising a piggery, they help us to study at the university in the city here in the Philippines. The same with my siblings.
If you look around, if you're gonna visit some of the members, you can observe that these people in this community are quite living in a prosperous way.
We really feel good about helping these people, especially if we see that they have been successful in life and the quality of life have improved. Then it's really an accomplishment.
The Aquino government aims to create better energy choices for a better quality life, to reduce the gap between the poor and the prosperous by providing a future based on renewable and sustainable energy. It'll take effort and ingenuity to make this quiet revolution succeed, but the early signs are that the will is there. What happens in the Philippines now could hold valuable lessons for the rest of the world tomorrow.